guys, welcome back to Room 237, and I'm back with another Christmas horror movie review. Again, I would like to seriously apologize for the lack of Christmas reviews this year. I've just had not as much time as I wanted to make videos, or even to watch stuff. Been kind of burnt out this year. Again, I did over 100 Italian films in 5 months. I've been finding myself just falling asleep while watching things. Also, I just had a lot going on this weekend. And also, I've just been finding myself wanting to watch other things. I haven't really been into the Christmas horror movie part of this year. Like, I've just been wanting to watch other things. Like, last night, I actually watched this on Hulu, but while I was out today, I saw it and bought it. I watched Saint Maud. Excellent movie. I loved it. Side note, this is the kind of modern horror that I love. You know, A24, IFC type films. I'll definitely be reviewing this at some point, but I heard great things, so I checked it out. Also, just to show you guys what is coming up, my birthday is during the following work week, so I celebrated it this weekend, and my girlfriend gave me this. It is a Giallo. It is one that I've wanted to see ever since I started the marathon. It's one people have been asking me about. It is The Sister of Ursula. This is the 7 release that has gone out of print. Very stoked to check this out. This will probably be the next review. Because like I said, I've been watching Christmas movies, but I'm kind of getting to the point now where it is just a lot of direct-to-video crap that no one's really interested in watching. So yeah, I have, the 2 that I have up right now were actually pretty good, but there was 2 I watched prior to those and haven't reviewed yet that I thought was going to set the tone for this season. And this is the first one I watched this year, and it is 1989's Elves, which this is one that I hadn't really heard of, definitely hadn't seen. I had seen that it was in an episode of Best of the Worst over at Red Letter Media, which I have watched since watching this 80s Christmas horror movie that I haven't seen. I've done the slasher films, so now why not check this out? And I probably could have expected what it was going to be. One is kind of a misleading title because it should just be called Elf, because there's only one elf. But it was written and directed by Jeffrey Mandel and stars Dan Haggerty, who best known for playing Grizzly Adams, Deanna Lund, who has done some stuff. She played Anagram in the Adam West Batman show. She was in the Lou Ferrigno, Bill Bixby, Incredible Hulk TV show. Also, Julie Austin, who looks really familiar, but I can't click on her name, so I can't see what else she's been in. And that's pretty much the only people I can click on is Dan Haggerty and Deanna Lund. Limited theatrical release in 1989. It's a PG-13 film, and I don't think this has anything beyond a VHS release, which was released on VHS in '94. So I found it on YouTube. Now, I guess this would be part of that movement that was going on after 1984 when Gremlins came out, where it was small creatures kind of wreaking havoc on and or killing people, whether it be a home, a town, a city. This one is also set in Christmas, usually has a lot of comedy in it, or is a perfect mix of horror and comedy like Gremlins. Then there's the big debate, which came first, Gremlins or Critters, but because I guess Critters creators always said they came up with it before Gremlins. But I guess you would have like Critters and Ghoulies underneath Gremlins. And just as you go down, there's other movies like Munchies and There's a whole slew of them that I can't remember on top of my head. I guess if there was more elves in this, or at least more than one, this could have gone into that category. But it also reminds me of Critters because you have this subplot going on that's really kind of distracting and didn't really need to be in there. Like how Critters has the space bounty hunters. This one has the doctor Nazis that's trying to fulfill Hitler's prophecy of a master race of pure Aryan-blooded humans and elf hybrids. And so obviously I went into this movie very blind, and the first half I thought was going to kind of be the slasher type setting where, because it's a group of friends in a mall on Christmas Eve, the one elf is in there, and I thought it was going to be, okay, killing people. But you actually don't even find out the whole Nazi subplot until a good portion of the film, into the film. And then a little less than halfway, we get out of the mall, and then it just starts becoming having to protect the lead girl. And it almost feels like a completely different movie. Now, I think this movie could have been better had they gotten rid of the whole Nazi subplot with the master race and everything, because it sounds ridiculous. What? I'm sure that was part of the comedy, because if you see this elf, why would anyone use that in their plan to create a master race? This 2-foot tall, whatever. It doesn't look like a Christmas elf. I mean, for a while, it's kind of obscured by shadow, and it actually looks more like the creatures from The Descent, until the light actually hits it and you see how foolish it looks. I mean, this movie had such a low budget. I don't even think this says the budget. It didn't even say what it grossed either. But, we see it from like the neck up in some shots. Other shots, you'll see it from like the elbow up or the knees down. And yeah, it's this very, like when you see the feet, it's this very stiff, like they're just holding the legs. The arms don't even, like the hands don't move. It's like it's basically just really cheap puppeteering. It's not even that good looking of a creature. The head is basically a Halloween mask with no articulation. I mean, it's just this. That's all it does. It doesn't even move its mouth. And the way its eyes are, it kind of looks like a starved, anorexic version, hairless version of Fluffy from Creepshow. And actually, as far as the body count goes, the elf contributes very little. I mean, I think it only kills... There's only one I remember, and that's the first Mall Santa. I don't really... And maybe... I think the mother, the lead girl's mother, maybe. But I really don't remember too many other victims. And usually, mostly it was these Nazis that are going around killing people. And yeah, this movie is silly across the board. How this elf comes to be is our lead girl, Kirsten, is with her two friends. They're doing this anti-Christmas pagan ritual, which imagine 80s Valley Girls doing some craft seance or ritual. Not convincing at all. Kirsten accidentally cuts her hand. The blood drips in the ground, which is where the elf is. It comes to life, and it finds its way to... Like, it knows where Kirsten lives, but it also I guess it goes to the mall when she's there. It must know that she's of pure Aryan blood, which that's another kind of twist, I guess, we get towards it, how she is part of that perfect bloodline. it's incest. You find out her grandfather, who is a reformed Nazi, is also her father. That was part of the experiment as well, to keep their pure bloodline going. She works at the snack bar at the mall, and first, like, the first mall Santa, who's like a younger guy, hits on her. So he goes out in the back room, he's doing some coke, and then the elf just comes out and stabs him in the crotch a bunch of times, and he just bleeds out and dies. And then Grizzly Adams finds out he's being evicted. He's not even in a trailer park or anything. It just looks like a little trailer in this isolated place. He's being evicted. And so he's at the mall. He gets a job as the new Santa, and he starts living out of the back storage room. You find out he was a detective, then he was like a mall cop, and now he's the mall Santa. I guess because of his alcoholism. And it does hint that, oh, he must be a very good detective. Shows him reading detective novels. There's still the tape outline of the previous mall Santa. Yeah, it's not a chalk outline, it's a tape outline. And he notices this symbol scratched into the floor. And he's just like, he sees it, and he's like, you're not a detective anymore. You don't need to know what that means. It's the symbol for the experiment. Yeah, I'm spoiling this movie. I don't care. It's fucking silly. Go watch the Best of the Worst episode. Excuse me. It'll save you some time. I mean, it's only an 89-minute movie. It is pretty short. And you do get some weird stuff, like the scene when her brother's peeping in on her in the shower, so he can tell his friends he saw her boobs. Her mother is this very sinister bitch. Like, the cat keeps meowing, so she like drowns the cat in the toilet and then buries it. So the elf digs it up and then like holds it up to her from her bedroom window. And so like the first half of the main part of the plot is in the mall. Her and her two friends are there. They're expecting their guy friends to show up. They're gonna spend the night together, I guess, in like the sporting goods section. Santa knows they're there, but, you know, they just kind of agree to not say anything. Then the Nazis show up, and you have this hilarious shootout that reminds me of, was it Police Squad? Was it Police Squad or Top Secret that had it like when they're at like this bench and then one person on either side just reaching out and shooting at each other and no one's getting hit? It's like that. You have like two people on each side shooting at each other in this store. No one's getting hit. And then it goes on to the next part, which is, because the Nazis keep going to the grandfather saying, you know, it has to be midnight on Christmas Eve to fulfill the prophecy. And so Grizzly Adams is going around to these different people. Like, he goes to this one guy at the library who tells him what elves are. Then he goes to this professor who's having a Christmas dinner with his family, and he explains what the experiment was, like with these, you know, these virgins and how they're going to get the master race. But there was this funny shot where, as he's explaining this, using terms like, you know, the virgin and impregnate and everything, it cuts to his two daughters, who are probably between 4 and 6. There's two of them. They're just like staring up at him as he's explaining all this. I did think that was kind of funny. And also there's these red crystals that the grandfather and the Nazi groups have, or like his two halves. But eventually it leads to a chase where the Nazis find Kirsten at her house. I think the mom gets killed in the bathtub. Like, the elf pushes the radio in, she gets electrocuted. Then there's like the final shootout with. Eventually, he gets to her house. Grizzly Adams does. Him, Kirsten, and the grandfather. And the grandfather, I think Grizzly Adams, both get killed, but Kirsten is chased out into the woods, and performing a ritual involved. She takes the elf stone, and I think she like stabs it into the ground where the elf came out, and it dies. But there is the whole movie stops because the elf catches up to her, and I guess it's about to consummate the ritual, but it stops when it sees a bug, and it picks it up, and of course its hand doesn't articulate or anything, so it's just like he ate the bug. But yeah, I guess the rest of the Nazis get killed somehow. I don't remember. I think I watched this last weekend. She stabs the ground where it came out of. It dies. And that's the end of the movie. And it also somehow destroys the whole forest. And then it snows for the first time. And then we just get this shot of like a fetus in utero, I guess implying that it was able to impregnate her somehow. But yeah, this could have been a fun Gremlins knockoff, which I think is what it was trying to be anyway. I can't rant on it too hard because I would put this in the same category as, say, like a Jack Frost or a Pinocchio's Revenge, where it feels aware of what it is, maybe not to the extent of those. Part of me does think it was taking some of it seriously, but then again, some of it is just so outlandish. Like, the whole this thing is half the part of their master race plot. And the fact that they have just this pointless puppet that is essentially in 4 parts, limbs and head. You never see it in his full body. They had to have known how silly it looked. And some parts there is that self-awareness. So if that is the case, if it is like a Jack Frost where it knows it's stupid, it knows it's silly, I can't really rant on it too hard. But, and I mean, it was laughable enough to just want to see what happens. But I guess the biggest disappointment was I kind of was hoping for a Gremlins or Critters type film where there was a slew of these elves. I actually would have rather they looked more like Christmas elves and maybe used candy canes or something to kill people with. Instead, of course, they also make the point that it's like this demonic kind of elf, so of course it looks more like a monster, but at least I can say I saw it. I mean, is it the worst Christmas film I've ever seen? No, it's one of the more laughable ones, but there's really just not too much to say about it. The acting is just as laughable. I mean, the best actor of the group would be Grizzly Adams, but even he is kind of like, what? Tell me what's gonna happen. I need to know. Like, it's not really an effects film. I think most of the deaths are by gunshot, but yeah, this. I'd much rather be talking about this film. God, this was an incredible movie. But yeah, Elves. it even teases it in the first half. Like, I don't even remember what happens to the three guys that were supposed to be there with the girls at the mall. I guess it's safe to assume the Nazis killed them off screen. Actually, I think one of them was used as like a battering ram to get the door open. But yeah, you could have had the mall as the setting, going around killing people with different Christmas decorations and inventory from different stores. But instead we got this. But, excuse me, yeah, other than that, really not too much to say. That's 1989's Elves. I guess really not the movie to talk about when you're already not kind of in the mood for Christmas movies. But, yeah. My next review will be Sister of Ursula, so hopefully I'll be a little bit more enthused. There was one other Christmas movie I watched. I'll try to get a review out for that. And again, I apologize for the lack of videos. Not going to be a big playlist like the last couple of years. But anyway, try to stick with me through it. Apologize again. And I hope you like the ones that I will do. So stay tuned for those, and thank you for watching.